Alright, fellow hunters, it's time to take a look at the final episode of the day, which is Yellow Fever. The episode begins with Dean running for his life. At first it seems he's being chased by hellhounds, but it is then revealed that he's actually running from a Bariband Yorkie. The scene cuts to 43 hours earlier, where the boys are examining the body of Frank O'Brien, a healthy 44-year-old marathon runner who died of a heart attack after 2 days of intense fear and paranoia, the third such death in town. Sam and Dean insists that the somewhat lazy coroner perform an autopsy, and he complies as they observe. He exercises the victim's heart, and, as Dean hold it, they can't find anything that would indicate a heart attack was imminent. He then squirts spleen juice onto Sam's face. They discover a number of scratches along Frank's arm, and a mark on his hand indicating that he wore a wedding ring. The boys go to visit eccentric Sheriff Al Britton, a good friend of Frank's. He makes them remove their shoes before they enter his office. After shaking hands with them, he slathers on hand sanitizer. He confirms that Frank had been acting strangely. Next, the boys visit Mark Hutchins, Frank's reptile-loving neighbor and the last person to see him alive. Dean is noticeably unnerved by Mark's menagerie of pets, a majority of which are live snakes, with Mark happen to have one around and on his shoulders as he is interrogated by the Winchesters. He tells them that Frank seemed afraid of everything lately: Al-Qaeda, ferrets, artificial sweetener, pest dispensers, and witches, especially that green bitch from The Wizard of Oz. Mark tells him that Frank had been a bully in high school, but that he got better, especially after the suicide of his wife Jessie in 1988. That evening, Dean's strange behavior escalates and he sets off an EMF detector, proving that he's haunted. He also begins to incessantly scratch his left forearm. A call to Bobby diagnoses ghost sickness, in which a spirit literally infects a person with fear, which intensifies until the victim's heart gives out. The victims had all used fear as a weapon during their lives, which Shem summarizes as, they were all dicks. Dean protests as to how the two of them could be like that, to which Shem clarifies that their way of life essentially scares people more than they deserve, as well as pointing out that apparently he isn't much of a dick like Dean as to not be affected by the ailment. Bobby theorizes that if the ghost that started the infection is destroyed, the sickness should clear up. In the hotel room, Dean begins to hallucinate and expectedly coughs up a wood chip. Sam realizes that the symptoms are trying to communicate something about the original ghost. They investigate the abandoned Cassidy and Sons lumber mill and, after running with a stray cat that makes Dean scream like a girl, they find an ID card for Luther Garland, along with a number of drawings of Frank's wife Jessie. When the ghost of hulking man appears and machinery starts to move on its own, Dean cuts out back to the Impala in terror. The official police file says that Luther Garland died of physical trauma. At the Peaceful Pines Assisted Living Home, John Garland, Luther's brother, tells a different story. Luther was the town freak, but Jessie O'Brien was kind to him, and he became infatuated with her. When she vanished, Frank O'Brien came after Luther, chained him to his truck, and dragged him up and down the road in front of the mill. No law enforcement mounted an investigation due to Frank's sway over them and his friendship with Sheriff Al. Sam and Dean realize the victims are experiencing Luther's death in slow motion. The lack of remains and the impossibility of a simple salt and burn set Dean off more, ransomed by the insanity of hunting and Sam getting gassy from eating half a burrito, panics and flees from the Yorkie, which he mistakes for a hellhound. Back at the hotel room, Dean's hallucinations grow worse. He sees Sam's eyes turn yellow, and he imagines Sam telling him that he wants to give in to the influence of his powers, while Dean goes back to hell. Sam meets Bobby at the wood mill with 2 hours to go before Dean's heart is set to give out. Bobby hears that he's fluent in Japanese and identifies Luther as a Buruburu, which can be killed with fear. Sam lures Luther out of hiding by destroying his drawings of Jessie O'Brien. He then wraps up an iron chain inscribed with a spell word around Luther's neck, while Bobby drags him behind the Impala until he dissipates, a terrible plan that both dislike, but which they feel is their only option. While Sam and Bobby try to catch the ghost, Dean is alone in his room and hears hellhounds. Sheriff Brennan breaks down the door and is crazed and convinced that Dean and Sam will turn him in for his complicity in covering up Luther's murder. His heart goes up before Dean can reason with him. As Dean searches for a Bible he finds on the floor, Lilith appears to him in the guise of a little girl from No Rest for the Wicked. She tells him that he doesn't remember his time in hell. 4 months was like 40 years. When Dean asks why he was infected, Lilith tells him that he knows, and that he must listen to his heart. When Luther is finally dispatched by Sam and Bobby at the mill, ending the infection, Lilith disappears, as she scratches on Dean's arms. Later, Sam has seen how bad his hallucinations and fears got by the end. Before Dean can tell the truth, he sees Sam's eyes flash yellow. Dean says he saw howler monkeys. That's not revealing the truth. Oh boy. So anyway, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This is the first episode to have both a wide-eyed demon and a prince of hell, although only as hallucination. In reality, yellow fever is an extremely deadly virus. The episode probably meant yellow as in yellow belly, which is another term for a coward. Agent Tyler and Jim Perry is referenced Aerosmith band members Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. As Hazel appears as a hallucination to Dean, this is his first appearance in present time since All Hell Breaks Loose Part 2. He is portrayed by Jared Padalecki in this episode. The fictional town of Colorado where the episode takes place, Rock Ridge, is also the name of a town in the film Blazing Saddles. As Dean's time was running out, Bobby arrives to present Sam with an encyclopedia of spirits, which dates back to the Edo period. Sam looks at the book and is shocked. He asks Bobby, "You speak Japanese?" Bobby answers, "Kimi ga omero me kara soto deo," which means, "I've always known Japanese since before you were born." The term yellow fever is used when a man perceives only women of Asian descent as erotic. Ugh. After Sam realizes that Dean is their biggest clue, after Dean comes up with the wood chip, Dean says, "I don't want to be a clue." This is a possible reference to the TV show Seinfeld, which is again quoted by Dean in Family Matters. The line is a template often used by Jerry Seinfeld's character, which is, "I don't want to be a," this makes me feel by a pirate, cowboy, and even Switzerland. The Garland brothers and John's reiteration of their story strongly mirrors the novel Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. The scene in which Sam and Dean open up a locker and a cat jumps out frightening Dean may be a reference to the video game Silent Hill, which inside a room full of lockers, a cat jumping out of one of them is used as a jump scare. At the end of the episode, Justin Eccles lip sings the song Eye of the Tiger sitting on the Impala. Nice. So now let's take a look at an error from this episode. When Sam was getting attacked by Luther, Jared can be seen smiling at some point. And now finally, let's take a look at a message from Eric Kripke about this episode. Quote, "I've never before responded directly to the fandom's comments about an episode, and I don't plan to make a habit of it, but I come across this dropping a thought about yellow fever, which is this: Dean is not a dick. None of the writers or anyone on the creative team of Supernatural think Dean's ever been a dick, past, present, or future. He's a hero. Dean did not contract the ghost sickness because he's a dick. Victims contract the illness because they use fear as a weapon." Dean asks Lilith at the episode's end, "Why did I get infected?" And she cryptically responds, "You know why. Listen to your heart." We, as the writers, probably should have emphasized this mystery more. I take responsibility for that omission. But the point is, the reason he was infected is because of a secret he's keeping. A dark secret that'll be revealed in episode 10. And not at all because of any dickishness, implied or otherwise. Thanks, gang. End quote. Yeah. So overall, I think this is a pretty good episode, and yeah, we'll definitely find out what that secret is in a couple episodes, so yeah. And also, this is another one of my favorites, so yeah. So overall, I give Yellow Fever 5 Impalas out of 5. But anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take the next episode. It's The Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester. So, until then, carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.